Chai! Now wow, people wey suppose talk truth to power don't off mic. And if we talk, now 500,000 they go summer us, call them hate speech. But fear not, Maiyegun don't come. Him go torchlight every corner, nooks and cranny of all these bad people where they spoil our country. So my people make we laugh, oh, yo, yo. Maiyegun don't come, oh, yo, yo. My people make we shout, oh, yo, yo. Maiyegun don't come, oh, yo, yo. Maiyegun don't come, man of the masses, oh, yo, yo. Maiyegun don't come, oh, yo, yo. Maiyegun diary Politico, oh, yo, yo. Maiyegun don't come, oh, yo, yo. This one not the off in mind, oh, yo, yo. Maiyegun don't come, oh, yo, yo. Can in the touchlight every corner, oh, yo, yo. Maiyegun don't come, oh, yo, yo. Okay, some people be they holla say they want the power. Chai, them be promise us say we go get light and power. Them hustle sote they can't get the power. But now they know they do anything with the power. Every day, dollar just they get the higher power over naira. See them talk say make we off mind, but thank God say Maiyegun don't come. So my people make you laugh, oh, yo, yo. Maiyegun don't come, oh, yo, yo. My people make we shout, oh, yo, yo. Maiyegun don't come, oh, yo, yo. Maiyegun don't come, man of the masses, oh, yo, yo. Maiyegun don't come, oh, yo, yo. Maiyegun diary Politico, oh, yo, yo. Maiyegun don't come, oh, yo, yo. This one not they off in mind, oh, yo, yo. Maiyegun don't come, oh, yo, yo. Person where they do evil, no one make person talk. Them say that Maiyegun, that man too they talk. He too they talk. Say Maiyegun diary, he they hot like pepper. But every day then they take money in bulk. Poor man picking, they the street they hawk. Still them talk say make we no talk. But thank God say Maiyegun don't come. So my people make you laugh, oh, yo, yo. Maiyegun don't come, oh, yo, yo. My people make you shout, oh, yo, yo. Maiyegun don't come, oh, yo, yo. Maiyegun don't come, man of the masses, oh, yo, yo. Maiyegun don't come, oh, yo, yo. Maiyegun diary Politico, oh, yo, yo. Maiyegun don't come, oh, yo, yo. This man not the off in mind, oh, yo, yo.
Maiyegun don't come, oh, yo, yo. Thank you so much for joining me from wherever you're watching from. This is Maiyegun Live. And please let me know if this audio works well on your screen there before we continue. I just got a new headset, so I want to be sure it's doing the job. Thank you. So yeah, if you are just joining me, thanks so much for joining me at first, yeah. But remember, if you haven't really subscribed on Maiyegun's Diary, you should do that before you settle down, okay? So that once you get settled into this, it's gonna be a bit hard to go back and do that, okay? You will forget. So thank you very much. Do that if you haven't, and give me a thumb up on this under this video before you continue dropping the chat. Ojora, Sister Elizabeth, thank you so much for joining me. Moses Abe, Kunle Shitu, Frank Eziobi, Helen Egundebi, Ayo Akinwande, Femitai, all of you. Thanks so much, the early callers. So today, I want to talk about the glorified criminals called the Nigeria Hero Past. And I want to, I'm going to take you through a write-up. A very, very detailed, interesting write-up that I want to share with you. Because one of the things that they did, these people who claim to be the leaders of Nigeria, including those who have been at the affairs, at the helms of affairs one time or the other in the past or even present, what they have successfully done is that they have managed to expunge history from our curriculum, and it is deliberate. It is deliberate because those who perpetrated the criminality against humanity, the ones ever seen before, crimes against humanity, crimes against their own people, in vengeance. The vengeance that is now of today in Nigeria. It didn't start today. It started a long time ago. Nigeria was meant to break up in 1966. Yes, that was the year that Nigeria was meant to break up, 6 years after independence, because Nigeria was never put together to be one, right? Everybody had to be, their own, everyone to his own tent, to your own destiny. But in 1966, history changed because some certain criminals in the northern Nigeria who came together in what they called retaliatory coup, because they considered the first coup in Nigeria then as a coup against the northern Nigeria. So a coup against northern Nigeria, according to them, was a war on northern Nigeria. It was pretty much like when the identity politics was taken to the fake one Nigeria national level. Do you get that now? So these guys retaliated to kill those that killed their leaders so that they could then secede from Nigeria. It's so unfortunate that those who started this, the campaign, the war to break up Nigeria, were those who are now holding on to Nigeria, telling us that Nigeria is one indivisible country, indissoluble country, united, fake united country. Okay, it wasn't meant to be, and we need to keep reminding ourselves. We need to keep telling ourselves, how did we get here? Why is it that even when some of you think that you know the right thing to do to bring unity to a country so divided with so much hate and tribal strife, everyone says they have a solution, those who have attempted it, but it got worse. The reason is because it was never meant to be. We have those who are old enough to know this history very well. But we now have the army of ignorant, miseducated, in fact, uneducated young people who have been brainwashed with the whitewashed history that they put on those criminals who forced Nigeria together, not because they want a one united Nigeria, but because they want an opportunity to punish those they considered as those who killed their leaders. Don't forget that. Today, Southwest Nigeria is boiling, burning. Northern Nigeria is already like, war zone. The Eastern Nigeria is now also burning because people are resisting these state-sponsored terrorists. Okay, and the tradition of forgiving criminals who are from the Northern Nigeria, who have committed grievous, murderous, crimes against humanity, who have violated their oath of, office, being soldiers, military men, right? Who have done that and they got away with it. It is the tradition of forgiving them or even compensating them didn't start today. It started in 1966. I picked up this write-up, which I'm going to share with you. It is written, detailed by Maiyegun Mohammed. You can read with me. I can put it on the screen for you. I just want this to go straight into the mind of those who have forgotten and for those who have never heard of this before and asking themselves that, why is it not working? Why is Nigeria so this and that? The impunity, the criminality, the compensation for criminals, which you are all witnessing today, started long time ago. And there is no country that honor terrorists, honor criminals, compensate criminals that will ever attain any height of greatness. It's never going to happen. The people who have been subjected to these criminalities in the country right now, who have been threatened, traumatized, not to react, or else they will be tagged tribal bigots, right? It's a lie. It is the blackmail they have been using for so long to tell you not to tell your story. When you tell your story, yeah, they will tell you that your story seems, somehow ethnical. Therefore, you are about to start an ethnic war. The blackmail they have been using, they whitewashed some of these heads of states. They call them. They are criminals, and it all started from January 15, 1966. When Aguiyi Ironsi became the first military head of state, and then he suspended the constitution, the regional system of government, and abrogated the entire country together to become one Nigeria. The Malam from the north, the younger soldiers, like Murtala, Abacha, Buhari, and many, many of them, they felt slighted. That how could an Igbo man become the leader of the entire country? It was a new thing. It wasn't part of the plan of when they gave independence to Nigeria. Okay. So they retaliated, and with the plan that they will never, ever be under any Southerner as the overall president of a country that they are part of. So they wanted to break away. In fact, they killed Agoye Rossi and the rest of them because these young soldiers, Murtala and co, they wanted to go away. But Murtala was compensated, right? When Gowon took over, when their coup that killed Agoye Rossi, they nearly started the war. They ran back to the north. Do you get that now? They ran back. They were expecting the rest of the southern Nigeria to start a war and moved with them, just like they did. But that didn't happen. They were told that there is going to be a vacuum. I'm going to read the story back again, especially for those of you who possibly deliberately choose not to remember this, or you've never heard it before. I'll share it on my screen. If you have the time, read along. I'll do my best to read right as well. Let's take a look. 1966. Nigeria's whitewashed heads of state, the Kano emperors, the history that will guide you to understand why Nigeria is what it is now, and why those who see themselves as superiors see themselves as superiors. You need to trace it back. And those who are encouraging them, enabling them, yes, they are also not new. Back in the days when these criminalities were perpetuated, there were those who supported them from outside the clan of these murderous criminals, okay? But rather than these murderous criminals to be tried for crimes against humanity, they were compensated. They were even named a monument after them. They were singing their praises. Murtala became a prominent face everywhere. Your international airport, your 20 naira notes. They were telling children that he was the best president and that Nigeria didn't enjoy. But he was a murderous, criminal. Somebody like Shekau of today, but who had the insignia of the Nigeria government to do that. I'm going to read now. Let's start. On January 15, 1966, Nigeria suffered its first military coup. The military coup was erroneously tagged an Igbo coup because most of the coup plotters were majors from the east, even though most grew up in the north and spoke Hausa better than Igbo. And in July 1966, there was a rematch. Aggrieved northern soldiers who felt they needed to avenge the death of their top soldiers and politicians killed in the January coup started to threaten mutiny. The suspicion was aggravated by the infamous Unification Decree, Decree 34, announced by the Nigeria's head of state, Agoye Rossi, an Igbo man. The decree aimed to eliminate regionalism in Nigeria by enforcing a strong central government. Remnant of this decree is still found in Nigeria's federalism structure, empowering the central government above other units today. Decree 34 came at the wrong time, from the wrong person. Northerners thought it was an attempt to take regional power from them and give it to an Igbo man, and that the January coup was all along an Igbo plan to take over Nigeria. Fresh from the wounds of their slain leaders, all Northerners, regardless of ethnicity or religion, united for vendetta. Look at them, the picture there on your screen. Now, despite being warned of an impending counter coup, Irosi paid lip service to it. Why not? He was surrounded by northern officers in his military council, and he had been more northern than he was an eastern man. Irosi showed loyalty to Tafawa Balewa to the detriment of Azikiwe and Ahmadu Bello while they were alive, and continued to display loyalty to the north. But it was not enough. To the angry northern soldiers, a baby crocodile was still a crocodile, and as long as it was from the east, they were not safe. Northern Nigerian lieutenants like Abacha, Sheleng, Dambo, Wali, Jega were on the neck of the most senior northern officer, Lieutenant Colonel go on that unless the top officers took action to revenge their slain politicians and soldiers, they would. When Gowon took no step towards avenging them, the soldiers turned to Inspector of Signals, Lieutenant Colonel Murtala Mohammed, who became the de facto leader of the revenge action. He was aided by Majors Martin Adamu and Theophilus Danjuma. So let's meet Murtala, the man they claim to be a hero in Nigeria, and they continue to sing his praises. 45 years ago, this murderer became a prominent figure nationally in Nigeria, and that was 1966. Murtala was born in Kano, November 8, 1938, to Rizkua Muhammad and Uwani Rahamat. He had his primary education in Sekin Gida and Geda Makama primary schools. He used the name Murtala Kurawa in primary school and subsequently changed to Murtala Mohammed. Like most northerners in pre-colonial Nigeria, Murtala attended government college, Zaria, now Barewa College, and started military training in 1959 at Teshe, Ghana. His military teacher in Ghana was Chukwuemeka Ojukwu. After his program in Ghana, Murtala went to the Royal Military Academy in Sandhurst, UK. He was commissioned into the Nigerian Army in 1961 as a second lieutenant. Murtala went on a peacekeeping mission in Congo, rose in rank, and went back for an advanced course in telecommunications. He was then promoted as major, temporary, and officer commanding 1 Signal Squadron in Apapa, Lagos. In 1966, Murtala was one of the aggrieved northern soldiers who did not hide their displeasure at the death of their northern leaders. Murtala even called Aguiyi Ironsi a fool, even though he was head of state. He was ahead of Murtala, and military discipline precluded this. By mid-1966, Murtala had started actively plotting mutiny. He would often drive to Ibadan from Lagos, pick up northern officers in Ibadan at a predetermined rendezvous point, and then drive around Ibadan without stopping while brainstorming various options for a counter coup. It was easy for Murtala to command absolute solidarity from all northern soldiers because the January coup had ruthlessly taken northern leaders, regardless of what part of the north they were from. This catalyzed into a one north political bloc that would dominate Nigeria politics for the next 4 decades. In July 1966, Murtala had his way through a series of uncoordinated reprisal attacks in military barracks in Abeokuta, Ikeja, and Ikoyi. Igbo soldiers were shot dead in their quarters, some as they rose in the morning, others as they reported for physical duty. At this time in Nigeria, soldiers were limited from serving in their region of birth, and most of the barracks in the West were filled with Northerners and Easterners. Northerners had majority infantrymen, as most Eastern soldiers in the military were educated and had higher ranks than Northern infantry, non-commissioned officers. The minority junior Eastern officers were butchered in the West. Those in the North were not spared. Yoruba people were lesser in the army, and the Hausa soldiers who didn't fit into barracks in the East and West served in the North, still having a majority and home advantage. Ojukwu was the governor of Eastern Nigeria, and he allowed Northern soldiers in the East to return home safely. Eastern soldiers weren't so lucky. When Northerners ran out of Igbo soldiers to kill, they started killing civilians. When the Igbo civilians' population diminished, Northern soldiers started killing non-fluent Hausa speakers. They killed some Northerners, Westerners, and people from minority groups. The bloodshed reached Northerners, especially those who didn't speak Hausa fluently, prompting the Emir of Kano to intervene and appeal to soldiers to go back to barracks to limit the killings there. Now, This is Nigeria's first post-independent secession attempt. While the genocide was ongoing, the northern soldiers orchestrating the killings gave conditions for a ceasefire. 1. Repatriation of northerners and southerners back to their respective regions. The secession of northern Nigeria from southern Nigeria. It was the first time that statement was made, and it was made by the coup plotters, those who revenged the coup of 1966. They were the first people to ask that northern Nigeria should break away from southern Nigeria. Even though today they are the ones saying nobody can break Nigeria. Nigeria is going to break up. Take that from me, sooner or later. The mutineers hijacked a British V610 plane and forced the pilot to fly 96 of the mutineers and their families back to the north. But this was not unanimous. Gowon was still not in support of the mutiny and secession. Gowon tried to buy time for negotiation. But Murtala made it difficult, charging soldiers to destroy Lagos before leaving the West. A northern judge, Justice Bello, was able to buy more time by reminding the soldiers that all the nation's money was in the central bank located in Lagos, asking them how they would pay their troops' salaries after seceding. It was no surprise that when Murtala became head of state, he pushed for the federal capital to be moved to a virgin area carved in the north, Abuja. It was clear that Murtala did not at any time intend to mutiny to hold power. With Ironsi killed, a coup plotter would have declared himself head of state, but Murtala wanted Lagos to burn, while northerners returned home. Even if he wanted to declare himself head of state, he might have faced stiff opposition. Brigadier Ogundipe was the highest ranking officer alive after the mutiny, and behind him were a host of other top officers. Murtala wanted only chaos. He got it. Over 30,000 Southerners were killed, with over 2 million refugees fleeing from different parts of the country to run back to the east. Because of the nature of these programs, the Igbo people have been tagged the Jews of Nigeria, reminiscing Jewish massacre in the hands of Nazi Germany. It was an ugly time to be anything but fluent Hausa-speaking northerner. How Nigeria progressed. There was a task power tussle from July 29 to August 1, 1966 in Nigeria. The Igbo head of state had been killed. The northerners had had their pound of flesh. Not all northerners wanted to secede, fearing that the South would have economic power. Oil was the new gold, which could mean ruin for them. But the mutineers did not want to leave power for anyone other than a northerner. They feared they would be tried and punished for their mutinous acts. Ogundipe, who could have become the head of state, refused power, as it would lead to another coup almost as soon as he restarted government. At this point, to the northern mutineers, any area south of the Niger was the South, and the South would punish them if given power. Eventually, they agreed that the highest ranking northern officer, Lieutenant General Yakubu Jack Gowon, should become the head of state. At 32, the bachelor Gowon became the youngest head of state in Africa. This changed the superiority chain in the military, as Gowon was not the highest ranking soldier, nor was he even the highest in his rank, with several other soldiers like Ojukwu commissioned before him. From that day, the person who was able to take over power with brute force owned the highest rank in the military. To protect Murtala, Abacha, and the other mutineers, Nigeria embraced might means right. And none of the mutineers was ever charged for their roles in the mutiny of July 1966 that killed scores of Southerners. This will soon prove to become an Achilles heel for Gowon. It is noteworthy that the majors who executed the January 1966 coup were yet to face trial and were being held in prison across Nigeria. Murtala and co. wanted them summarily executed. Gowon wanted justice. Civil war was next. Courtesy, Murtala, the bloodsucker. Despite Gowon becoming head of state, Murtala's bloodletting was insatiable. Murtala refused a direct order from the Supreme Military Council on different occasions and would occasionally walk into Supreme Military Council meetings uninvited. Gowon was afraid of Murtala and tried to avoid him. With Gowon as head of state, the northern soldiers conducted themselves as overlords. Murtala wanted Ojukwu and the East to grovel, but Gowon wanted peaceful resolution of the conflicts. Gowon was head of state on one part. Murtala was an unhinged leader on another part. As Gowon struggled to stabilize himself in power, random murders of Eastern region soldiers continued to occur. On August 12, 1966, several non-commissioned officers from the Eastern region were rounded up and killed by northern soldiers in Apapa, Lagos. Several summary convictions happened across the nation. Ojukwu could have at this point declared war on Nigeria, but he was in a tight position. Most of the senior northern officers most of the senior northern soldiers had trained, schooled, and were close friends with him. The Emir of Kano was in June named the Chancellor of the University of Nigeria, Nsukka, in the East because of his relationship with Ojukwu. It was in fact the assurance of Azan, Katsina, and the Emir that Ojukwu had told the Easterners to return to the North in June, where they were killed en masse. Ojukwu, feeling part guilty and part angry, told all Easterners to return home till there was headway. Over 2 million Easterners did. Gowon wanted to negotiate with Ojukwu, and after several attempts, Ojukwu agreed to meet on a neutral ground. They met in Aburi, Ghana. In Aburi, Ojukwu, an enchanting orator, was able to convince Nigeria to accept his propositions. Ojukwu did not agree with Gowon's elevation above other soldiers to become head of state and said this would cause problems in the future. And it did. At Aburi, Ojukwu propositioned that Nigeria runs a weaker central system and return to the regional system of government eliminated by Ironsi. Gowon and other Nigerian army officers were swayed by Ojukwu until they returned to Lagos, when some civil servants explained to Ojukwu that consenting to the Aburi Accord meant he would have lesser power, as powers would be returned to the regions. Pressured by the fear of losing the oil-producing Niger Delta to Ojukwu's region, Gowon reneged on his promise. The Aburi Accord was futile. In May 1967, the Republic of Biafra, formerly Eastern region of Nigeria, seceded and war broke out in July. I feel emotional reading that now because that was how over 5 million Biafrans were killed. Yes, that was what led to that war. That was just because somebody felt like it was going to be less powerful. As a northerner, that is unacceptable. That was how the war broke out, and 5 million people were killed. I hope you are following. Let's continue. So, Murtala's killings continued. Biafrans made the first violent move when they attempted to take over Nigeria's then Midwest region. This move backfired against Biafrans, as Midwestern and Western sympathy for the Biafran dissipated after the attack. Murtala was not satisfied by Nigeria's slow response. Murtala, through his civilian contacts independently, took steps to procure weapons for the impending war. Nigeria hastily formed a second division and made Murtala the GOC. Murtala poached soldiers from other divisions, commandeered armored vehicles, and built the new division from scratch. Murtala's new division had soldiers like Shehu Musa Yaradua, Chris Ali, and Sonny Abacha. Murtala's first task was to reclaim the Midwest region from Biafrans, and he did it hastily. But Murtala did not stop after sending Biafran soldiers out of the region. Members of the two divisions carried out a terrible massacre of civilians, so grotesque that Gowon had to apologize for it. Decades after the Civil War, hundreds of Igbo people in the Midwest were summarily executed. If all Nigerians forgot, victims of the Midwest cities of Asaba and Benin will forever remember Murtala's massacre. Murtala left bloodied Midwest and proceeded to Onitsha. At the last act of protection and isolation, the Onitsha Bridge connecting Midwest to the east was destroyed by Biafran soldiers. Murtala now had two restrictive routes to get to Onitsha. A dangerous and direct assault via a river crossing, or B, by crossing the Niger River unopposed via territory held by the neighboring 1 division, then proceeding overland to Onitsha. Realizing that the dangers and complexities of a direct river-based assault on Onitsha, Army headquarters advised Murtala to choose B. The arrogant Murtala did not want to cooperate with the Lieutenant Colonel Chua, who was his classmate in Zaria and Sandust. Murtala did not heed instructions and recommendations from Army headquarters, refused the wise counsel of Lieutenant Colonel Chua and Lieutenant Colonel Frank Aisida, who was one of Murtala's brigade commanders. Murtala proceeded to attack Onitsha via a river crossing, even though its navigational instruments were not working. The water level was high. He had no reconnaissance, and most of his troops were not soldiers with combatant missions. These problems were compounded by the fact that most of them could not even swim. Newly commissioned officers like Oladipo Dia and Shola Williams were entering their first task in the Nigerian military. They were welcomed by the guns of Biafrans, led by Colonel Joe Aneba Achuzia. Murtala will attempt the crossing 2 more times, losing Nigerian soldiers of mid and low ranks in the attacks. One of his captains died in the assault. Yet Murtala was not punished for his act for the second time, for his act of rebellion. And that wouldn't be the last time Nigeria would lose brave soldiers because of Murtala. After his failed attempt at capturing Onitsha, he begrudgingly agreed to cooperate with Shua. His indiscipline spilled into his division, and soldiers looted as they proceeded. Murtala would at different times coordinate attacks without planning with Shua. In March 1968, Nigeria suffered one of its biggest losses in the war. An opportunistic Biafran disobeyed orders and fired the single last mortar in the possession of the Biafrans at the Murtala's convoy. The plucky soldiers scored a direct hit on a vehicle in the convoy carrying ammunition, which ignited. The resulting fire set convoy of almost 100 vehicles ablaze. Nigeria would have avoided this tragedy if Murtala had taken orders, avoiding the Abagana route that was so narrow. It was difficult to reverse or turn. Murtala was recalled and replaced by Colonel Aruno, who struggled to conduct the 2nd Division, blah, 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 blah. Now, instead of punishing Murtala, he was promoted to colonel in April 1968 and brigadier in October 1971. In 1974, Gowon made Murtala the inspector of signal. Murtala still felt aggrieved that power was not shared with him, despite bringing Gowon to power. Although by the end of the Civil War, Murtala had other preoccupations, his loyalists in the military did not go to sleep. Then the 1975 coup. It was the one coup that the victim, Gowon, was well informed and also had adequate time to quell. But Gowon's popularity was beginning to fade, despite being seen as Nigeria's Abraham Lincoln, reneging on his promise to seek power in 1976 tainted his popularity. The coup was executed by the same faction of soldiers that brought Gowon to power, this time led by Colonel Joe Garba, the commander in charge of the elite brigade of guards. This is the unit responsible for directly protecting Gowon. The head of police special branch, MD Yusuf, was informed of this coup. And when he told Gowon, he told Yusuf to stand down, that he would confront Garba when he returned from Kampala, where he was going to attend an OAU meeting. The coup had major actors like Shehu Yaradua, Ibrahim Taiwo, Mukhtar Mohammed, Alfred Aduloju, Paul Tarfa, Sonny Bello, Ibrahim Babangida, and Muhammadu Buhari. Murtala Mohammed did not participate in the coup, but he was visited by Yaradua and Garba, who met to inform him of the plot and convince him to become head of state. Murtala said little, shared his resentment for Gowon, and gave the plotters his support, promising to protect them in case the coup was foiled. Other top officers in the military were informed and were told to either look the other way or be killed if they attempted to prevent the coup. On the day coup was to take place, Murtala himself was in London. It was a bloodless takeover. By 2 a.m., the Lagos airport was sealed off, and all roads to the airport shut. Communications were severed. Gowon was informed that he had been usurped while the General Assembly of the 12th OAU congregation was in session. The next challenge was announcing the next head of state. The plotters decided the three of their superior officers, Brigadiers Obasanjo, T.Y. Danjuma, and Murtala, would form a troika government. Murtala's plan was allowed to return to Lagos from London, and he furiously objected to the power sharing system the coup plotters devised. Murtala did not want to answer to anyone. The coup plotters knew that Murtala commanded support from combatant soldiers and threatened Murtala that if he refused to be the head of state on the power sharing terms, they would tell everyone the outcome of their meeting and select someone else as head of state. Murtala was angry and bitter, but eventually agreed to share power with Obasanjo and Danjuma. And any decision of the Supreme Military Council that lacked two-thirds majority support would not be executed. Murtala was outwitted. Now, Murtala as head of state, this was them. Murtala, Siroma, and Danjuma, and Obasanjo, when they became head of state. In the archetypal Nigerian leadership format, Murtala's former sins were forgotten. Do you get that now? So if you have been following me with the history and story of Murtala, the celebrated criminal in Nigeria called Hero, okay, like many of them, yeah, he became head of state eventually. All his sins were forgiven and forgotten. Same way, all the sins and the crimes of Boko Haram were forgotten and forgiven when the real Nigeria happened. So, in the archetypal Nigerian leadership format, Murtala's former sins were forgotten. Murtala immediately restructured the Supreme Military Council, retiring superior officers and promoting coup profiteers. Security chiefs were changed. Murtala opposed the appointment of MD Yusuf as Inspector General of Police because Yusuf had informed Gowon about the coup that brought Murtala to power. But it wasn't a solo government. MD Yusuf became Inspector General of Police. So it was clear from the outset that Murtala's governing style would be in a stark contrast to that of Gowon. While Gowon was diplomatic, conciliatory, and cautious, Murtala was brisk, volatile, and displayed displayed decisiveness with major issues that bordered on impulse. To his credit, Murtala's leadership style prompted civil servants to be upright in their duties. Murtala also retired 10 of the 12 military administrators who were found guilty of enriching themselves under Gowon. Military governors formed the executive and legislative arm of government by their positions in the Supreme Military Council. Murtala curbed their powers by pushing them out of the Supreme Military Council, allowing for proper separation of power. Murtala also had governors serve in a region other than their region of origin. Aside Shehu Shagari, who happened to be a finance and Ali Moguno, mines and power, all federal commissioners were found guilty of corruption, sacked, and government assets reclaimed from them. Murtala also sacked over 10,000 civil servants who fell into the old, inefficient, or corrupt categorization. On the international front, Murtala maintained a non-aligned posture towards the Cold War. Murtala meant business by record, yeah? All the world is a stage. For the first time in Nigeria's post-colonial history, Nigeria was led by a strict disciplinarian who did not look to anyone for counsel or look to favor anyone. This made many Nigerians become upright as everyone was afraid of being hit by Murtala's mace of discipline. But Murtala soon made his first mistake. In January 1976, he approved a wave of promotions in the military, the impunity, the typical northern impunity kicked in, okay? So in January 1976, he approved a wave of promotions in the military that was bizarre and unnecessary. These promotions' bizarre nature was soon exposed when many officers realized that officers that were junior to them were suddenly their seniors. Many officers were unhappy with this decision. His second mistake was his refusal to take his security seriously. Murtala did not use a motorcade like most Nigerian head of states and did not move into the state house. He continued to live in his Ikoyi residence while committing to work in his Mercedes-Benz salon car on Friday the 13th, 1976. A group of mutineers waylaid Murtala and opened fire on his car. The mutineers were so aggressive that one of them emptied an entire magazine, reloaded, and refired. The coup was led by Lieutenant Colonel Buka Suka Dimka, one of the mutineers of the July 1966 counter coup. Let me rephrase that. The people that killed Murtala, Buka Suka Dimka, is also a northerner, okay, who also participated in the program of 1966 of killing of Igbos when they killed Aguiyi Ironsi and made Gowon the head of state. So when Murtala's time came, the same people who killed Ironsi, the same people who worked and truncated 1960 and 1963 Republican Constitution, and the same people who worked with Ironsi and killed Ironsi, made Gowon president, head of state, they were the same people who came for Murtala, Buka Suka Dimka. Some of you know that name so well. If I can recall, it wouldn't be the last. Do you get that now? So it says here that the coup was led by Lieutenant Colonel Buka Suka Dimka. One of the mutineers of the July 1966 coup. It was the third time that a faction from the 1966 mutineers will attempt to take power from a sitting head of state. It wouldn't be the last. Do you get that? Yes. The same criminals overthrowing government, installing themselves, ran a country aground, led into civil war, killed over 6 million human beings to keep Nigeria one, are the same people terrorizing Nigeria from the word go. So they killed Murtala, right? So that was the story of how Muritala came to prominence, how your hatred for Igbos started, germinated, and so many people have benefited from it. Today, they are parading themselves as elder statesmen across Nigeria, giving different speeches here and there, talking about one Nigeria, one Nigeria, one Nigeria. Read your history. You will realize that those champions of one Nigeria are the criminals who removed the true history from the history book and begin to tell you all fallacies. And when you look back and ask yourself, how come Nigeria is not working? It won't work. It is a contraption of injustice, a fake contraption of lies, where injustice is actually where they gain power. The day Nigeria begin to give justice to people from the north to the south, from the north central to the to the southeast, to northwest, to northeast, to southwest, to Niger Delta, everywhere all over the country, or the day Nigeria begin to do justice is the day that will be the end of Nigeria, because the Nigeria you have today is a fake contraption put together by criminals like this guy who was not elected. Fulani terrorists are telling you that they have right to be everywhere. You don't know where this is coming from. It is coming from the history of conqueror, the history of power that they have been fed with, that you can get away with anything. Go out there. Why do you think they are forgiving terrorists in Nigeria today? And they are comparing terrorists with, comparing terrorists who are killing people, kidnapping people, comparing them with people who are protesting against bad government or protesting against economic degradation or environmental degradation in Niger Delta, or the Igbos, the Biafrans who are complaining about the injustices against them over the years, as you have come to know. But you see these criminals who believe that they have right for this or that, we will tell them the history. Your criminal leaders from northern Nigeria who are hiding history from you, telling you that you have every right to live in any part of Nigeria, it was because they believe so too, but they were wrong. You don't have any right to live in any part of Nigeria when you are carrying gun, especially in southern Nigeria, where you are carrying gun and kidnapping people for ransom. And we are going after those who are kidnapping and killing people. But you are telling us that Nigeria is going to break up. I mean, Nigeria is going to have experience war because people are rejecting their killers. Of course, if it's going to be war, bring it on. Because what people are pushing for is that they don't want killers around them. And you cannot tell them that they have to take that, right? Because Nigerians can live anywhere they want, right? Seyi Makinde was in Ibadan today, yes, with the governor of Ondo State to see what damage is done by the Hausa Fulani to the properties of the people of Yorubaland in Ibadan. Do you get that now? That is the story. Yorubas who gave their properties out, rent their properties out to Hausa Fulanis in their communities. They are now mourning the loss of their own their people, our people, where people have been killed simply because, and nobody has been arrested as we speak. So the damage is done. They will get away with it. They will get pardoned. They will tell you to take it, to move on. And here, it's going to happen again. Seyi was there today. Don't mind how he talks, okay? We now know that it's not really who he claimed to be. But he was there today, and you can watch the video before we continue. We don't know how they're going to do it. We just want our people to feel safe in Yorubaland. That is not too much to ask for. But that is not what... It's unfortunate, okay? When you listen to Yoruba governors talking about this problem, they are doing their best to be, to be diplomatic. These criminals from the north, they don't give a damn about how you say it. They say it anyway. Do you know what the Miyetti Allah are now saying to us in Yorubaland? They are now telling us that they will retaliate. Just the word they use. We will retaliate on the attack on our people in Yorubaland. Do you get that now? And they are making that up already. They are already doing it on Yorubaland already. They are already attacking the Amotekun corps members. Their policemen are already arresting them. And even the criminal who happened to be the defense minister, it will shock you that the guy you are about to listen to right now is the Minister of Defense for Nigeria, okay? Is the one who probably supervises the killings and massacring of their own people for God knows how long now. This guy was a criminal, accused, convicted. Yeah, not just accused, convicted of looting and stealing money. He pleaded guilty and pleaded to return the money. A former military man himself. But what did he get? He got compensated by Bokwari. They made him the Minister of Defense. A thief. Now, I'm going to play his video. Listen to this. This is their mindset. And it beggars belief that you will listen to a Yoruba governor doing do you get that? These guys are blunt with what they are asking for. They are not doing Give us the land or the problem will continue. You can't send us away or we will fight you. It's very clear. And their elites are saying it the same way. Caution your people. We will retaliate. Do not never forget. We will fight back. Fight back for what? That you want a forest for yourself? Forest that you brought from where? And you will listen to a Yoruba governor doing and we should do if they are looking for peace. A peace that they don't even know how to get. Do you get that now? Listen to this guy. A thief that should be in jail who stole money but became a minister under the anti-corruption breeding money queen. Watch, listen.
If some people are seeing this country that it has to be governed the way they want, they are mistaken. We are not elected to serve particular people. We are elected to serve this country. Whoever is involved in this thing, the military or the government will not allow it to happen. Our interest is to ensure there is peace and security in this country, and our economic activities and social life of people are restored. That is our purpose. Whatever is happening here and there is an opinion of government. If Kaduna State that they don't want to give amnesty to the people, please advise him that there is an international law staging what is to be done and how it is done. We just don't do things in isolation. We are part of the world. There are international laws and regulations that must be complied with in dealing with these situations.
Is a liar, okay, and that's the result of putting uneducated illiterates in power, and that is the compensation that the northern Nigeria gives to criminals, so that they can give them more power to commit more crime and get away with it. Do you get that now? But you could get from his voice, I don't know if you noticed that he's scared. They will be scared of what is coming. They should be scared, because you see all this bragging about, hey, the North will fight, the North will do this. See, listen, this is not 1967 anymore. This is not 1969. Do you get that? This is not 1970. If the North like, let them do that in the North. What happened in 1966 is what will happen again. It is that your leaders will have to tell you to return to the North. And those political cowards in Yorubaland will have to tell their own people to return back to the South. And the reality that all of you are running away from and trying to protect yourselves from, telling yourselves that it will never happen, the reality of breakup will now happen. Then you will now understand that you have pretended for too long. You don't give amnesty to terrorists. No way. If a defense minister of defense, can publicly say if a state will not give amnesty to the people, which people? Do you get that now? Which people? Ask him. Amnesty for which people? People killing people? Terrorists kidnapping Nigerians? The terrorists they told us they said they were from Chad, they are from Niger, they are from Mali, they are from Libya. Foreigners, they call them. Some of them are still even using the word foreigner. Whenever they speak today, they will tell you they are foreigners who are coming here to kill. They are not even ashamed to say it. They are not shameful to saying it. They are foreigners cross your border under your government, and they are killing people. And these foreigners are kidnapping, collecting money from people. And your government cannot protect the people. But your government is now asking the people to be careful and give them amnesty. How does that make any sense? Like, help me make it make sense. They told us, they said, don't categorize all Fulanis as terrorists. No, we don't. We are not categorizing all of them as terrorists until they prove to us that they are not. For now, every terrorist enabler is a terrorist. Wherever you see any Fulani that is defending armed killer ass men in Yorubaland, and is defending that armed killer ass men because he is a Fulani and he's telling you stop. No. You are a terrorist. Okay, you just haven't got your gun yet, and you will not tell us how to treat your cousins, your cousins, your nephews, your brothers and sisters from Sahel who are killing our people. They are supposed to be. You are supposed to feel worried that some of them are telling us that these Fulani, these terrorists are also killing Northerners. They are also killing Fulanis. They are stealing their cows. So if they are stealing their cows and killing Fulanis, why are you upset that people are trying to send them away? Why are you not joining them? Why are the Nigerian army protecting these people that are killing Fulanis too? See this narrative of say they are killing Fulanis as well. They are killing Hausas too. They are doing this and that. All that is all rubbish, nonsense. Okay, if you see anybody using that narrative beside you, he is a terrorist enabler. Okay, and definitely, apparently, he is a terrorist too. Terrorist enablers are terrorists too. Do you understand that? If you believe that the invading Fulani terrorists in Yorubaland, they are not Nigerians, then those of you who are Fulani Nigerians, you should join the crusade and join the people to fish out those criminals. But you know, that's not going to happen. It will never happen. Your governors are telling us that a Fulani terrorist has the right to carry AK-47. AK-47 where? In somebody else's farm? Somebody else's land? Property? Is there no law that goes against trespassing? Do Nigeria not have any law against trespassing? That if you trespass on people's properties, you will get arrested or punished, or you can even get killed. So who told you? It is because they are all terrorists. So if anybody comes out and tell you that, stop, if you are doing all of this, we are going to fight back. We are going to retaliate. Listen. Gone are the days when you will come out and they will say, oh, they want to keep, they have started burning properties here and there. What will happen last is that everybody will have to go back. Everybody will finally have to identify with their own land. The Fulanis that are in our forest will have to go back eventually. They will have to go back to northern Nigeria because we don't have Fulani Yorubas. There is no Fulani Yorubas anywhere in our history, anywhere. So that's what will happen. Your leaders who failed, and it is the leadership failure. Don't ever join the crusade of those that are blackmailing people to say, oh, let us look for peace. There's no peace if your government is the one funding chaos, violence, killing, and shielding the killers. There will be no peace. What peace would you get from that? The right peace you get is for the government, the military, the police to go into that forest, arrest those people who they claim to be foreigners with guns, bring them to justice, find where they are coming from, prosecute them, send them to their own special jail for terrorists. They have killed people. They should rot in jail forever. Fulani or no Fulani. That's what the government should do. But if everybody is saying, oh, let us be careful. Let us all be careful. And we are all being careful. And we are all being killed quietly, silently. We cannot protest about it. The soldiers will kill us. We cannot push these terrorists out of our land. The soldiers will come and attack and kill us. So what are you talking about? You are still telling us that we are the problem? Those asking to protect themselves are the problem? No, you are the problem. And this is what you fear for, right? This is your fear. And I'm going to let you hear it again, especially from, this is a Yoruba video, right? I want you to listen to it just to
Bọ́jẹ́ sọ reality fún o. Mo rí orílẹ̀-èdè méjì tó fi by force lọ. Yorùbá and Igbo kò lè sí tó máa dá dúró. 2021 ẹ lọ múra lẹ̀ kẹ́ gbàdúrà fún ìṣọ́ àti ààbò torí wípé 2021 mo rí ogun tó pọ̀ nípa ìbọn. Hallelujah. Àwọn èèyàn fẹ́ jà láti gbára pọ̀ nínú ìsìnlú kúrò lóko ẹrú. Hallelujah. Ìjì yẹn máa lágbára pé kò sẹ́ni tó máa dá dúró. Praise the Lord. Ogun yẹn máa bẹ̀rẹ̀ ní. Hallelujah. A bẹ̀rẹ̀ wẹ́rẹ́wẹ́rẹ́ tó máa di ìparí ọdún 2021 yẹn. A rí pé àwọn ẹ̀ṣọ́ Nàìjíríà ìjọ ipá wọn ò ní ka. 2022 a ní agbára. Ẹ̀yin tá ń sáré tẹ̀wà lẹ́yìn olóṣèlú kò ní sí election fún 2023. Hallelujah. Ohun tó máa fà á ni wípé àyàfi tí gbogbo ọba lè padà sí inú ìfẹ́ Ọlọ́run ṣùgbọ́n ṣé Nàìjíríà lè ṣe é. Àwọn olórí yín ti ta ọkọ̀ wọn fún èṣù. Wọ́n dẹ̀ ṣe ohun tó burú wájú Ọlọ́run jáì. Hallelujah. Ìtàjẹ̀sílẹ̀ tó wáyé lórílẹ̀-èdè yìí ó ti kéde ọ̀rọ̀ Ọlọ́run dẹ̀ fẹ́ gbẹ̀san. Hallelujah. Ohun tó wá burú jù rèé gbogbo àwọn pásítọ̀ kan wà ẹ̀mí Olúwa ní pé tó Olúwa ti farahàn níbi tẹ́ yẹ ṣètò sí Nàìjíríà yìí ṣùgbọ́n torí ohun tó ń jẹ wọ́n kó àti sọ òdodo láti pín ìṣòro Ọlọ́run. Hallelujah. Gbọ́ wáyé ká fi bẹ̀rẹ̀ tó lè para tí ò lè pẹ́ rẹ̀.
Sorry, if you don't understand Yoruba, it is just like the pastor of that church possibly happened to be, well, possibly, a follower of Maiyegun's diary. You cannot see the pointers, the effects, that 2021 is going to really be. It's pregnant. We know what it's going to give birth to. Those who are preparing for 2023, waiting to be politically empowered again. Hallelujah. Wait for your 2023. If you make it that far, you will be lucky. With what is going on, where government is the sponsor of terrorism, government is the one backing terrorists, giving them amnesty, freeing them up, because those in government themselves are criminals. They have received amnesty because they have political power. They have committed the worst of the worst crime against the people of that country. But they have got away with it. They got compensated. They got rewarded. Some of them became governors. Some of them became president. Some of them became ministers. Oil blocks were shared among them. Nigeria was shared among them. And they have done this without any written agreement. All these criminals are those who are in charge, telling us what is crime and what is not. And what do you expect? It is a matter of time. It is about to catch up with everybody. All they have kept stolen from you, they are about to lose everything. Trust me, it is not looking good for any of them. It has never looked good for the people that they have been misled, lied to, killed. They continue to kill. But you see those policemen, it will become so serious for you to be a policeman in Nigeria this year. It will become so, I don't want to use the word risky, but I think I should. You will become worried that you are a uniformed man in Nigeria in 2021 with the way people will react, with the way people will defend themselves, with the way people will push back the power that the politicians have stolen from them for a very long time. As for Northern Nigeria and their political class, listen, I'm going to add this again, okay? Let's forget those who are the normal collateral mumus, okay? Those Musas, Buharidins, Buharididins, the side barbarians and all of them. Those ones are the collateral mumus of all the political decisions of their political leaders, okay? But look at all this, their, all their political leaders from the north and what they have done. Their people are also victims of all this neglect, all this backwardness. Look at the north. Out of 60 years of Nigeria independence, they have been in power for more than 42 years of that or 44 years of that. What does that tell you? Look at that. They can't protect their people. They can't make their lives better. And today, their politicians have now endangered the people who they claim to love and protect and made superior to other tribes in Nigeria. The Fulanis are now endangered. due to the actions of their political leaders. So now, an average Fulani man who has been a Nigerian for a long time is now endangered because his political leaders, all these criminals who are giving amnesty to terrorists, are telling us that as a Fulani, you are superior than others. You can get away with any crime. What does that? What do you think that will leave? Where do you think that will leave you? It will leave you in a position of disdain, where people will disdain you, being a Fulani man. It may not be your fault. It is not the fault of an Igbo man that wasn't born during the 1960s or whatever led to the Civil War. Today, he is being profiled as an Igbo man. He's being treated as a second-class citizen in his own country. He's being treated as a terrorist, especially if he vents his own opposition to the government led by a northerner. So as an Igbo man, it was the decision or the consequences of the action of the past that today they are profiling them. Look at what will happen to the Fulanis. Today, the Biafrans have fought their ways out of that. They are no longer playing victims. They are now saying, if you think you can rob us and then at the same time rub it on our faces, you have something coming for you. Don't try that again. This will no longer be 1969 or 1970 or even 2020. 2021 onward in Yorubaland means that they have taken back what the Hausa Fulanis and the likes of Murtala Allah implanted in the minds of an average Fulani man, average Fulani woman, sons, daughters. The mentality they gave to you that you are superior because you have political power. You have this, your elite have that and blah, 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 they've told you. Now, today, it is going to be the greatest undoing of those criminals you fail to condemn. Apart from the fact that they have underdeveloped you, they have deprived you of every sense of education that you should get normally and destroyed the socio-economic existence of your region. They have also endangered you. Now, as a Yoruba man, I strongly believe that if I commit a crime and a Fulani man commits the same crime, I am going to go to jail and that Fulani man is going to walk free. Where do you think that leaves me? And now that I'm talking about those ones kidnapping my people, kidnapping them, destroying their farms, raping our women, and the rest of that, and you continue to tell me to shut up. And shut up is because I don't like your Buhari. It's because I don't like your Buhari, or it's because I don't like your North. Where does that leave me? Where do you think that leaves me? It leaves me with the mentality that except I fight for myself, except I protect myself, your Buhari will not protect me, which is obvious. Your Buhari won't protect you, but you don't mind. Fine. So when Buhari is no longer in power, and I have these people killing and kidnapping my people, where do you think that will leave you? It will make me love you? Do you think so? Because you collaborated with the people who cooperated with those killing us. And because there are people who sounded or look like you, you decided to call us names and tell us to go to places that we can do our worst. You will get what you want. Guess what? Where does that leave you? Have you actually thought about that? Because you cannot be killing us, kidnapping us, and us complaining, and then you telling us to keep quiet and keep short. Then when we react, then you say, hey, you want to cause war, you are killing people, you are telling people to leave. Come on. They are not doing you any favor. You are a terrorist enabler. If you are comfortable with the way the insecurity situation is being handled, even in your own northern Nigeria. Do you get that now? Many of you are condemning us, pushing away terrorists from our forest, but you are not busy. Staging and threatening that you are going to kill all the terrorists who are kidnapping and killing your people in northern Nigeria. They kill every day, from Kaduna to Yobe, from Yobe to Taraba, Jigawa to Adamawa, Bauchi to Niger. They kidnap and kill. Kaduna to Sokoto, Sokoto to Kano. You are being killed and desecrated every day, but you are concerned that Yorubas are sending armed terrorists away from their forest. You are a terrorist. You are a terrorist enabler. And we have no word to describe you. But the only thing there is this: we will push back. And at the end of the day, when you do we will retaliate nonsense that all of you are talking about. Retaliate or no retaliate, this is not 1970. You will have to call your people back. At that time, what you are not agreeing to with us right now, that we are telling the armed terrorists to leave our forest. We are asking the government to arrest and prosecute the killers. You are telling us that we have to leave them. We have to go into the forest and push them ourselves. Now, we want to go in there and push them ourselves. You are telling us that it is your birthright to walk about with AK-47. It is your birthright to walk and graze on our farms. And now here we are. We are saying they should leave. You said we are going to call for war. You are going to do this to the people in the north. Do that to the people in the north. Listen, whatever you do to the people in the north, we will do times 10 of that to your people in the south. Just take that to the bank. It is spontaneous, okay? So what will then happen is that you will end up having to call all your people back, including your armed terrorist brothers and sisters in our forest. You have to tell them to come back. We will have to tell our own brothers and sisters who are contributing to your economy in that northern Nigeria, we'll tell them to come back, or they should stay there. It's not by force. You can choose where you want. Maybe you can speak Hausa. You can speak Fufude. You can say, you can be wherever you want. Nobody will force you anywhere. Stay there. But don't threaten us with, we will retaliate. Retaliate with who? Retaliate with who? So you will, you have no idea. Okay? So what will then happen is that you end up agreeing with everybody that the terrorists should leave, and then every of their offspring as well should leave and vacate, and the Nigeria should break up. So the breakup of Nigeria that everybody is trying to be afraid of, yeah, what will happen? It will just come naturally. So don't threaten anybody with, we will do this, we will do that, okay? Ibadan case is an unfortunate one. I am not in support of all the carnage, the attack, okay? I am not in any way in support of that. But we know what happened in Ibadan. What happened in Ibadan is different from what was happening or has been happening in Okeogun, Ibarapa, Ayeta, and those local government areas in Oyo State. It was a two fighting, a tense situation, the tribal tension that politicians are telling us to ignore. Don't worry, it's not that bad. It's not that bad. That was what played out in Ibadan, right? And as usual, people attack themselves. Hausas killed Yoruba man, killed Yoruba woman. Yorubas attacked the Hausas, and they started killing themselves. But Hausas went on to destroy and burn down the properties because, yeah, they were tenants around the place, and they burned down the properties of their host, Yorubas, in tens. So at the end of the day, they had to run away from their own Little Ruga, Sabongari around the place. This is the true story. Eventually, they will call all parties together and possibly fix that. But I know it's not going to really be fixed. Okay? But when we go back to why are we asking the terrorists to leave Yorubaland, we are going back to what they are doing to our people on the highway, on the motorway, the expressway, kidnapping and killing them, collecting ransom from them, raping them, and doing all manner of crimes, and that our policemen cannot even go after them. Today, Amotekun cannot even go after them either. Because if they try to go after them, they will be arrested by the Nigerian police for committing a crime because they have no right to arrest a Fulani herdsman. Do you get that now? So we are saying, if you want to stay, be legit. Now, people are now saying it as well that they don't even want them anymore. So you can sit down and watch your politicians play around this, mix it up and do all of that. It won't change the fact that people know that the government of Nigeria is in bed with the terrorists. They read the news. They see them all the time. They look around and they realize that the same thing going on in northern Nigeria is happening in the southern Nigeria right now, especially in Yorubaland. And they know that the terrorists, no matter what they do, they are going to be forgiven. So what do you expect? People should keep quiet. No, they won't. And let me tell you this. The fact that they are always rewarding criminals in Nigeria simply means that if you don't do it, you will be a victim. And then for those who are standing up, we say thank you. In memory of Pa Lateef Jakonde, he has something to say about free press. That's what we know Yoruba for. In his memory, may his soul rest in peace. Before I go.
Press freedom is the touchstone of all the other liberties of the citizen, and therefore should be the concern of every human being. An attack on press freedom in any country derogates from the totality of press freedom in the world. all too often, media men in some advanced countries, because they were born into press freedom, adopt an attitude of indifference to encroachments on press freedom in other countries. All too often, media men in some developing countries resign themselves to the pernicious doctrine that their press cannot be free for reasons which are patently absurd and grossly illogical.
Press freedom, human rights freedom. These were things that the prominent, it was the governor then, it was the governor of Lagos State. That was way back in 1979, 80. That was that video there. I decided to add that to this because I started this broadcast with the history. Somebody said, Maiyegun, speak about Sukuk. What do you want me to say about Sukuk? Sukuk, the Islamic loan brought into Nigeria by the government of Nigeria. Is that the first time Nigeria is going to bring Islamic loan? When Nigeria joined IOC, when Babangida took Nigeria to IOC back in the late 80s, what do you think they were signing up for? So if you want to chat around Sukuk, well, maybe we can have that some other time. Thank you so much for your time. I'm going to have to draw the curtains here, okay? Remember, you can still follow Maiyegun's Diary Politico. If you haven't subscribed, do it now. And if you check your notification, check that if that is even set up, okay? Sometimes subscribing is not enough. You need to set the notification, okay? As well as, yeah, thank you very much for your time tonight. I'm going to see you some other night, okay? Bye for now.
Àní ẹ̀sùnra kì í. Maiyegun ti dé. Maiyegun ti dé. Ọ̀jẹ̀lú ẹ̀sùnra kì í. Maiyegun ti dé. Àní ẹ̀sùnra kì í. Maiyegun ti dé. Lórí Facebook. Maiyegun ti dé. Àní ẹ̀sùnra kì í. Maiyegun ti dé. Lórí YouTube. Maiyegun ti dé. Àní ẹ̀sùnra kì í. Maiyegun ti dé. Bọ́ bàbá gbé wúrẹ́. Àní ẹ̀sùnra kì í. Maiyegun ti dé. Bíjó ìgbádìyẹ. Maiyegun máa bí. Àní ẹ̀sùnra kì í. Maiyegun ti dé. Bí pẹ̀sìdó bá rúfin o. Maiyegun máa bí. Àní ẹ̀sùnra kì í. Maiyegun ti dé. Bí gómìnà kówó jẹ. Maiyegun máa bí. Àní ẹ̀sùnra kì í. Maiyegun ti dé. Ọlọ́pàá tí ń gba rìbá. Maiyegun máa bí. Àní ẹ̀sùnra kì í. Maiyegun ti dé. Aṣòfin tí ń rúfin o. Maiyegun máa bí. Àní ẹ̀sùnra kì í. Maiyegun ti dé. Òpùrọ́ olóṣèlú. Maiyegun máa bí. Àní ẹ̀sùnra kì í. Maiyegun ti dé. Ọ̀jẹ̀lú ẹ̀sùnra kì í. Maiyegun ti dé. Àní ẹ̀sùnra kì í. Maiyegun ti dé. Maiyegun ti dé. Gbogbo ọ̀jẹ̀lú ẹ̀sùnra kì í. Maiyegun ti dé. Gbogbo ọ̀jẹ̀lú ẹ̀sùnra kì í. Ṣùgbọ́n ní bá ti ṣe èyí tó yẹ kí wọ́n ṣe, ọmọ bá dèrò ní fi wọ́n níran o. Maiyegun ti dé. Gbogbo ọ̀jẹ̀lú ẹ̀sùnra kì í. Maiyegun ti dé. Gbogbo ọ̀jẹ̀lú ẹ̀sùnra kì í. Ṣùgbọ́n ní bá ti ṣe èyí tó yẹ kí wọ́n ṣe, ọmọ bá dèrò ní fi wọ́n níran. Wọ́n fowó bẹ́ẹ̀.